Hey there, this is Blair Redford, and you are watching Network.tv. I play Ty, and I'm returning to Switch to Birth from about 2 years ago. I was off at war. He joined the army, so he's been overseas, and he's just returned. He's currently working on a base here, so him and Bay run into each other, and they used to be in a relationship, so they're linking back up, and that old flame is kind of rekindled, but it has its own challenges because he's been through a lot, he's seen a lot. There's traces of PTSD within him as a soldier, and so that challenges their friendship and their relationship, but ultimately I think they kind of help each other.
What kind of research did you do to sort of understand what happened to this character?
That was one of the things I was really looking forward to about returning to the show. I did a good bit of research, talked to some vets, talked to the producers and the writers ahead of time. I wanted to know exactly what the storyline was going to entail, so I would know where to place my time and my research. And they were really good about giving me a synopsis of what my character was going to go through. So I took the facts that I would need, and I sort of researched that specifically. And I was even really lucky. They've done several scenes where they've hired guys that are from my unit, to do other scenes, whether we're on the base or just out, sort of having some drinks or whatever. And I run into a couple of guys they hired that have some really amazing stories who are actually in the service, and it just kind of lucked out because I was able to touch base with them and hear a personal point of view from them. I'd say just on a personal level, because of the research I did, it really opened my eyes up to a lot of the challenges returning vets face. The list of challenges are endless. Whether it's trying to come up with coverage for mental health problems, they can't get that fast enough, which is leading to suicide. The suicide rate for returning vets is alarming. It's awful, and just some people's outlook still towards returning vets, it's still not good. It's still in a dark place, and I think it's so hard for Americans to understand exactly what's going on over there, what they're seeing over there, what the norm is in the Middle East while we're, as they say, at the mall. It's astonishing.
When you're working with your cast members, what are some of the things that were most impactful to you in terms of being with this crew and this whole new show?
I've always said about this show, I'm fascinated by the sign language aspect of it. It's funny because the first season they touched on the fact that my character is almost like a brother figure to Daphne. So I had one scene where I had to sign. I think I'm supposed to know more than that, but I know I'm up for the challenge if another one comes into play. But so far I haven't needed to do that. Yeah, but I love watching that. I have a limited number of characters I get to work with because of my storyline. But when I'm at the table reads, and it's really fascinating to me to watch everyone communicate that way. Yeah. We get along really well. I'm returning to sort of a pretty hardcore family because I've been gone a while, and they're pushing, I think, 40 episodes now or something. So yeah, they're pretty tight, but they've all been really welcoming, and we have fun and get the work done. But we're able to joke around and have a good time in between.
How do you see your character evolving on the show?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's almost a better question for the writers. But how
would you like to see your character evolve on the show?
I'd like to see them continue to explore a little bit of what we just talked about, the aspect of veterans returning home, and there's just so much to tell there. I don't think you're gonna run out of story. There's a wealth of things to explore. So I understand you got to have your relationships and your teen love stories and stuff, and that's always good, and you can always make that original as well. But I just think it's a nice different color, to add to the show. So hopefully, I'll get to keep exploring that.
How close are you with your character in terms of the similarities or differences? Are there closeness or not?
I try to always find similarities, just so I can have something that to hang on to. It sort of makes it a little bit more natural. So I'm always looking for that. But this is farther away from me than other stuff that I've done. Never had an interest in joining the service. Never looked at that as an option. This character has pretty bad family life. Doesn't know his parents. He's kind of been on his own, struggling his whole life, and that's what led him, and leads a lot of, I think, young men into joining the service. So yeah, that was all new for me, and a challenge to wrap my head around, but it was good.